Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go with them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, I'm going to go over a story titled, 2 years after divorce, faithless ex-wife wants to reconnect. And I shout out to Mel for sending me this story. And guys, this story is the classic situation where a guy marries a gal, really was in love, thought she was amazing, and then to no surprise, she has an affair. Unfortunately, our guy has the last laugh. How? Well, when these affairs, they usually don't work out too well. And when the women are desperate, they go back to the guy they think is nice, will always take them back. But the thing is, a lot of these guys eventually learn their lessons, or they become so numb and indifferent, and they get to tell them to take a hike. That'll be an entertaining one to cover. For any of you guys out there that have been in a situation where you gave it your all, you were a good boyfriend or husband, loving, supportive, all the things in the checklist, and still you were tossed to the side of the road, treated like garbage, cheated on. Know this, that one day, probably her life is crap. She's going to come back, and you, after improving yourself, get down to the last saying to kiss my butt, take a hike, adios. He says, it's been over 3 years since I last spoke a word to my ex-wife. She reached out to me last week and asked to speak with me. They always come back. We had a 1-hour phone call, and that conversation brought this sad, miserable relation to its ultimate end. This is my story. Why would you talk to her after 3 years? What point is that? Unless you want to hear her grovel and get satisfaction. I found this forum a few weeks ago and have been reading avidly. It has made me very sad reading the outpourings of so many broken hearts. I'm sorry to say it has brought some comfort knowing I'm not alone in my situation. I haven't posted before because what comfort or advice can I offer when my marriage failed so badly? A lot of guys feel better knowing that they're not alone. They don't want others, let's be honest, misery loves company, but in a non-selfish way, it makes guys feel better they're not alone out there. But after my conversation with my ex last week, I realized there are so many similarities in all our stories. A series of checkboxes, and almost all of them checked off. This is what compelled me to share. We met in Tennessee. I was 22 years old. She was 27. She was in her last year of nursing school. Oh, Lord. And I was in my last year of military service. We were both working, doing deliveries at a local pizza place for extra money. We hit it off and became friends, and after a very memorable party one night, became much more. She pursued me in truth, but I was attracted to her and more than happy to reciprocate. When my military time ended, I took her out to a nice dinner and proposed. What? Smack! Are you nuts? Now, I'm glad he's doing this after he got out of the military. And by the way, why was he doing pizza deliveries while being in the military? I assumed he was, or maybe I'm assuming wrong, that he wasn't. I thought he'd be taken care of enough with housing and all that, and how he has time for that. But okay. Propose? Are you nuts? Are you freaking crazy? I was so completely in love with her by that time. Our first year of marriage was great. I got along great with her family, and my family loved her. We did almost everything together, and then in a year or two, things started to change. So the honeymoon phase was a phase, as per usual, and you didn't get to know her long enough before you proposed, dude. But this is what happens to so many young guys that get crazy in love, and, I was working full-time and going to school at night, working on a degree in civil engineering. I tried to make the time we had together special, romantic, but nothing changed the fact that there were a lot less of it. I could feel her pulling away and losing interest in me. So I dropped out of school. I made a judgment that my marriage was more important and told myself I could always go back later. Things really didn't improve. Smack! You were in school to go for civil engineering and make something of yourself, but because she was pulling away, you're going to fuck that up? That's no longer a man on his purpose. That's a man making his relationship his purpose. That's feminine energy. That's what women do. That becomes their purpose, or at least traditional feminine women. So that's a terrible idea. Now he's going to ruin his potential for what he can earn and achievements in life with that civil engineering degree. It's crazy. I learned something about her. She is like a kid who tires of her toys quickly. And that's why you don't rush into proposing to a girl in a marriage. She becomes bored with it and moves on to a new toy. I try to keep her engaged and keep things interesting. Gifts, vacations, different kinds of romantic bonding. It was like bailing on bailing on a sinking ship, or bailing out a sinking ship. She offered little in the way of help or encouragement. It's exhausting to try and save a relationship when you're doing it alone. Then the cheating behavior began. So, she's the a-hole, and we're definitely going to see the extent of how much of an a-hole she is. But this guy, he does what so many guys do. The woman pulls away, and the guy tries harder and harder and harder, and she's turned off by him trying harder and harder and harder, knowing full well she's acting like an a-hole. Loses respect for him. That's the key thing. The women lose respect for the guys for so many different reasons. They're a-holes, but the guys aren't helping themselves. You never chase someone that's pushing you away. This you guys all know well. She checked off the boxes. She was protective of her phone, her laptop, more frequent absences from home, a complete withdrawal from intimacy. And you never should have tolerated this dude. Meanwhile, you're giving her gifts, romantic gestures, taking out to eat. I lose fucking respect for you too. This is when, as a husband, you should have been laying down the law. This ain't gonna fly. Affection from her went to zero, and even hugs and kisses were coldly received. I've read this so many times in posts here. It's like cheaters don't want to cheat on their fair partner with their spouse. I knew what was going on, and I was highly motivated to catch her. We lived in an at-fault state, but she covered her tracks well. I couldn't prove it. Of course she covered her tracks well. They're pretty darn good at this. And let's all remember that she's a nurse. I think she noticed I was checking out of the marriage. All my attempts at initiating affection, or heck, even talking to her for what mattered, stopped. After that, she tearfully confessed to an inappropriate relationship with a coworker. Coworker, huh? At the hospital? So notice he said at that point he was pulling away, wasn't trying anymore, and then she started noticing this. And now she's confessing, realizing, uh-oh, this guy may leave. See what happens when you pull away? She swore it was never physical. Sure, honey. She made a lot of promises and apologies. I had never heard the term trickle treat before coming here, but I suspect I was served a hot bowl of it, with a side of blame shifting. She wanted to work on us. She wanted counseling for us. And I believed her. Or at least I chose to believe her. My heart and my intellect were not on speaking terms. Guys have to learn the hard way. This is why all guys should be knowledgeable about this type of material and reality before making giant life decisions like getting married. But so many guys watch these stupid romantic movies and fall in love, and they don't want to hear from people that have experience and warn you, don't rush into a proposal. Really get to know your girl. Let real life events come. Let her be always kind of like, on probation in a way till you get to know her, because you can spend time with her, but you also make sure you have to get to know her and pay attention to things. They don't like people telling them what they don't want to hear. We went to marriage counseling for a few weeks. Oh, gee, how'd that work out? That seemed to make her uncomfortable because the counselor asked some very probing questions about the emotional affair. Well, because she was probably getting probed. I think she suspected, as did I, there was more to it. She discontinued after 4 sessions. That tells you everything. But we seem to be doing better. Smack! I cannot believe you're going along with this. It was almost like my old wife back. I was very happy and decided to put all my unproven suspicions behind me. Smack! So you're going to go right back to behaving in the same way you were that contributed to her pushing you away. This lasted about 6 months until the cycle began to repeat itself. Oh, once a cheater, always a cheater. Shocker. Dude, she said she did an emotional affair. There was more, the probing, like you said the marriage counselor was doing. No. Once again, she checked all the boxes like before. I confronted her about twice. She blew it off as stress on her part or immaturity. A favorite thing for her to throw in my face over the whole relationship because of our age gap. She's not that young. On my part, intimacy between us stopped as she lost all interest in me and in me. And then it happened. I came home and found her at home early. She was sitting on her bed crying. I sat with her and asked her, almost begged her, to please talk to me. Smack! Never begged. That was on purpose. She saw you coming in up the driveway. She's like, okay, I'm going to think of a sad movie, make the waterworks come in, so then when you come and see her crying on the bed, you're going to be like, oh, what's wrong, honey? Even though you've been acting like an asshole for the last 6 months. She told me she was pregnant. and for a fleeting moment I was overjoyed. Then my brain began to engage. I suddenly remembered how long it had been since we had intimacy. I could see in her face. I asked her how far along. 8 weeks, she said. It had been over 4 months since we had last been intimate. I got up and left the room. So what, you want to do marriage counseling again? Or, my friend, you've now seen and accepted reality? She ran after me, looking back and comparing the conversation that followed against the accounts of people's experiences on this very sub. I'm amazed how the wayward spouse will all say the same things. Now, here are some of the things she was saying to him. It was just that one time. It didn't mean anything. I only ever loved you. Of all the lies they tell that the last one stings the most. I told her I was leaving the house and would be back in an hour. Then I would listen to what she had to say. I was shaking, furiously angry. In all honesty, it probably would not have ended well for either of us if I had stayed. Yeah, it's a good idea he left the house. And quite frankly, to keep him from doing something stupid that can get him arrested or do prison time. And also makes her more emotional, thinking, oh my God, he's leaving me. I drove to an empty parking lot and cried my heart out. There's no shame, man. I mean, you're heartbroken. This was your wife, but I'm sorry, but we all knew this was going to happen. I think I mean that literally because something inside me broke during that hour. My heart died. It turned to ice. And it still is to this day. When I went home, I was cold, emotionless. I didn't need to act like a gray stone. I had become one in truth. She insisted we could get past this. She saw how happy I was when she first told me before I realized. She commented on how we wanted to start a family. Yeah, I wanted to start a family with you, with my child growing within you, not with your boyfriend's child growing with you. Not my fucking problem. She threw the baby's innocence into my face and how he or she would need a father. Well, you know who the father is, so go have a conversation with that dude. This went on for nearly 20 minutes as I sat and stared at her in complete and emotionless silence. Finally, she looked at me and asked me to please say something. Really? You want me to say what I'm thinking? I told her she's asking for reconciliation, but nearly every word she is telling me is a lie. I told her if she wants me to even think about it, she would need to start by telling the truth. Brother, there is no way you are going to get the truth. The version of the story I was told is that it was the very same affair partner all along. The same guy she claimed that she never slept with before, that wasn't serious, that type of thing. Even from the prior year, it was always and only physical, that she never loved him. She loved me. He is not interested in having any kind of relationship with her other than physical. That's how Chad and Tyrone operate. And that's why a lot of these wives that cheat, or girlfriends that cheat, they like those guys, because it's just physical. That guy's not going to bother them. That guy's not going to mess up their marriage where they can have the husband be clueless and keep paying for everything. But when they get pregnant, and then they want the husband to take care of that kid. He is pressuring her to end the pregnancy. She doesn't want to. She wanted a family and wanted it with me. Actually, probably this woman wanted it with that guy, who's probably a doctor and probably has his own family. But he's not interested. So now she's going to go with the sure thing, this guy telling the story. I told her our marriage is over. Amen, brother. It's about freaking time. It's been over for a year and a half, but I was just now finding out about it. I told her pack whatever she needed for 3 days and please leave the house. I told her I'd meet her in 3 days to discuss what came next. She refused to leave. Of course. She kept trying to talk to me. Ordinarily, her tears would have broken my resolve. Well, she knows that. Hobag Handbook Chapter 2. But I looked at her that night and felt nothing. That part of me that loves her has died. I went to the guest bedroom and locked the door. Make her go to the fucking guest bedroom. The next day, I spoke to several lawyers and hired one of them. The paternity of the child was more than enough proof for an at-fault divorce. I had zero desire to wait that long, and we discussed uncontested and mediation. When I got home, she actually tried to initiate with me. Oh my God. I was shocked and disgusted. I told her that would never happen again. We agreed on an outline for the divorce. The biggest asset was our house. The majority of our debt was her student loan. Notice he said, our debt. Not her debt, our debt. I gave up my ownership interest in the home so she could sell it. She was going to keep the baby, and I wanted her to have that money. Oh my God, smack! You nice guy to the end. No, 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 no. Let the freaking affair partner, whose baby that is, take care of that. No, you deserve your money. I want nothing but to walk away free. What, and broke? In the end, I kept nothing other than my Jeep, my military sea bag full of clothes, and a few tools, firearms, and military mementos. Mostly things that were mine before we married. Everything in that house, everything she has touched was just tainted to me. I want nothing from this marriage but to bury it in the past. Okay, I'm all for that. But still, sell the freaking house and get your cut of the whatever equity's in there. It's not your problem about her raising the kid. The divorce finalized 13 months later. I saw her twice during that mediation. We barely spoke. She was very pregnant then. I thought that would be hard to see, but I felt nothing for her. You know, this happens to a lot of guys. They get their heart broken and they become numb. Like their heart, like they literally, a part of them dies. Which, in a way, can be beneficial during this period of the divorce. That way they don't, fall for her crap and take her back again. No love, no hate, nothing. She was a stranger to me. In other words, you're indifferent. I moved to Florida and took a job as an underpaid but also underworked civil servant. I have a very simple life now. I bought and renovated a small house on the Gulf Coast. I bought a boat and go fishing almost every weekend. I have very few friendships and have dated very little. I have trust issues now. I really don't enjoy the company of other people. I find myself suspicious of the attentions of women, especially ones I'm attracted to. You're grieving, man. You're grieving. You're in mourning of what you thought you had and all that, and that's okay. But as time goes on, you'll get better. But I want you to get back on that horse and maybe back to school for the civil engineering degree or something, but so you got a better life. I'm 27 years old now. I'm very physically fit, and some girls find me attractive. But the idea of an intimate relationship with someone, trusting them to that level, I don't think I can do it. Well, bro, nobody can blame you. But who knows? You may never get in a relationship again, or it may take you 10 years. Who knows? But the fact that you're now indifferent to everybody, that probably means you're going to get more attention from women than you ever have before. Go figure. Not for a long time anyway. I'm the opposite of the man I used to be in almost every way. All my love now is reserved for my happy black lab retriever named Stormy. She goes almost everywhere with me. I'm not exactly happy. Hey, and that dog will love you and be loyal to you to the dog's end. And it's like the saying, I think I was seen in the movie Wall Street when Gordon Gekko said to Bud Fox something to the effect of and if you want a friend, get a dog. Really is true. If you want unconditional love, get a dog, because there's no such thing as unconditional. That is in the fucking fairy tales. That's in the movies, the rom-coms, and all. No. Or get a cat. If you're a cat person like me. Although there's conditions. You better change that litter box and feed those little guys. You could forget feeding your dog for 2 months and the dog will still love you. Anyway, I still get upset when something triggers me to remember my now ex and all that happened. I still sometimes feel a tremendous and overpowering sense of loss. I know I have lost nothing because I really had nothing, but I can't help how I feel. The beauty of my job is I mostly work alone and in the outdoors, and I can often take my dog to work with me. If I haven't found happiness in divorce life, at least I found peace. I'll take that. Peace is wonderful. Many guys out there know how well that peace and quiet, I might add, is. Last week that passed, I thought I'd buried 2 years ago, reached out from the grave. She called my cell. I don't know how she got my contact info. It couldn't have been that hard. I wasn't exactly hiding. We spoke for an hour. Smack! Why the hell would you talk to her for an hour? You said you talked to her twice during the whole divorce process. You moved on, you're done with her. Obviously, this guy's a part of him that's in love with her. There's a part of him that's curious, but really, dude. We spoke for an hour. It was amicable at first, and she made it sound as though she just wanted to see how I was doing and catch up. She's not calling you just to see how you're doing. Life is hard for her. She's a single mom now with a little, 2-year-old. She wants you back to help provide. But the hidden purpose of the call was to feel me out about some kind of reconnection. She gave birth to a healthy baby girl 2 years prior. Paternity was never in question because of the timing. The affair partner wasn't present for the birth and has had little interaction with the daughter. Shocker. I do feel bad for the little girl, though. The life of a single mom is hard, and although she was getting enough support from the affair partner, apparently she had to take him to court for it, she was lonely and unhappy. I told her how sorry I was to hear she wasn't happy, but it was not my problem. You're not sorry. Well, maybe he is. Who knows? This is a former nice guy, but still, it's not his problem. I told her she had broken my heart, and it was still broken today. I told her in as many words as I did not love her, could not love anyone, and wanted nothing to do with her. Good job, man. I said to her that she made all the choices for all of us, for her, for me, and for her daughter. She left me with but one choice, and that was to walk away from her. I asked her not to contact me again. Well, you know what? If he had to do that to have his final say to make himself feel better, fine. But she'll reach out again. The final similarity between all of her stories on this sub is this. A selfish person made a selfish choice and damaged the lives of 3 people, one of whom had never been born yet. If there's one thing I wish I could make cheaters understand before they make the selfish choice, is that they are hurting everybody around them and possibly everyone around their affair partner. But if they are already selfish enough to cheat, it's likely they won't care. She doesn't care. She only began to care when she got pregnant, and obviously the affair partner wasn't going to marry her or leave his wife for her or take care of that baby, so now she was crying to this guy, and repeatedly she's done this. Once a cheater, always a cheater. And yeah, exactly. But this guy made sure his mistakes. I got to point it out. Rushed into the engagement. Rushed into the marriage. Didn't really get to know her well enough. Didn't have enough real life shit happen to see her true colors. And he described her like a child getting bored with her toy easily because this guy was a toy to her. Not to mention her career choice as a nurse doesn't exactly help his odds here. But I'm sorry it happened to him. And then he was like rewarding her behavior when she was pushing him away. He made mistakes, but I'm sure he's learned, and now he's on his own. And yeah, he's going through a tough time. He has peace, but he has quiet, but I wouldn't say he's at peace. He's deeply hurt. But hopefully over time, and with some healing, and on his own, and with his dog, and with some of his friends, things will improve. But there you go. But making the point that they always come back. If she was happy, she wouldn't be back. But now she's back, and he gets to have the last thing, pretty much take a hike, asshole. So that's a good one to hear. And hopefully he makes the right decision. If a situation like this happens in the future when he heals and meets some other pretty gal that he falls in love with and all that. But I think he will. So there you go. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you find a good story, definitely email it to me. strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give me some time to get to it, and I definitely will if it works for the channel. Have sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.